Now you guys can read. I'll call the meeting to order. In spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 land, the traditional ancestor land of the Nikawa, Soto, Sika, Piniqui, Kina, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Métis Nation. We honor and acknowledge the land, the elders, youth, which gathered here for which have ancestors have gathered here for centuries. Okay, with that said, I will. Okay, I'll call for the adoption of the agenda. Okay, let's see if I can get you lit up. Oh, it's not coming up. Councillor Byers, but it's not coming up for me to click. No, that's voting. Delegates.
You're gonna need Steve for that one.
Steve, I don't,
Okay, I make a motion that the agenda for the December 12th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting be adopted as presented.
okay, thank you, Councillor Byer. Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? Passed. Adoption of agenda. Adoption of the previous minutes of October 10th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting. Councillor Taylor. Steve, will have to hit you live.
I move that the minutes of the October 10th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting be adopted as presented.
Okay. See, there's something.
Yeah, nobody's showing up on there.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? Passed. Okay, adoption. Delegations, youth count, discussion? It's coming up blank. It's coming up blank right now, there's no.
Yeah, it's not working, Steve.
Okay, delegation, youth counselor, presented by Deanna Insko, Community Development Coordinator. Deanna, if you want to please.
Mr. Chair, I've turned it on to direct speak, so anybody can just press their button to turn their mics on for now.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everybody, through the chair. I would just like to introduce, we have a bit of a short bench tonight for our youth counselors. There seems to be a flu going around. So I was wondering if they would like to stand up and just introduce themselves this year.
That would be great.
That'd be lovely.
Yes, if you want to come up, would you like us to introduce ourselves first? I can start over here at the mayor and we'll introduce ourselves and then we look forward to your introduction. So, Mr. Mayor.
Kevin Zahara, welcome.
Mayor Kevin Zahara, welcome.
Councillor Ed Moore, welcome.
Councillor Greg Pasichny.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Chenard.
Councillor Crystal Byer.
Councillor Peter Taylor.
Councillor Trevor Bevan.
Youth Councillor Nolan Taylor.
And Mr. Chair, maybe we can get them to introduce which school they're from and what grade.
Yes, great idea. So can I get you back and tell me the school and also how long you've been a counselor for?
This is my first term. I go to HRH.
Youth Councillor Dylan Filardo. This is my fourth term, and I go to Parkland Composite High School.
Grade 12.
I'm in grade 12.
My name is Andrew Vanderhaeg. This is my fifth and final term on the Edson Youth Council, and I'm in grade 12 at Parkland.
Thank you.
My name is Emmy Filardo, and this is my third term on the Youth Council, and I go to Parkland, and I'm in grade 11.
Hi, I'm Hannah Prevost. This is my first year.
Oh.
There you go. Okay. I'm in grade 11 and I go to Parkland.
I'm Daniel Palasok, grade 11. I go to Parkland and this is my fourth term.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
We're just doing are you can do a presentation first?
No, we didn't have a presentation.
You don't have a presentation,
we know
so
how important
I
it
will
is.
open it to council. Do you have any questions for youth council? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the chair to our youth counselors, thank you for being here tonight. I'll just ask a simple question. Why did you want to join youth council? What brought you into youth council? For this year, or if you're returning or new?
So, kind of the idea that brought me to youth council is I've heard so many great things about this group, and it's just a great volunteer. They volunteer lots, and I know they help out a lot of community, and I want to give back to the community that gave up so much for me.
I was originally introduced to youth council as like a way to just kind of like learn about municipal politics and maybe even like have a say in things from the youth perspective, and I think that's the most important part.
So I joined the youth council because it was, what I heard, it was great community involvement, and I really thought the volunteering opportunities were excellent from what I heard. And so yeah, I just really wanted to be a part of it.
I enjoyed my first 2 terms on the youth council, and I really like feeling like I make an impact in the community.
I think the volunteer stuff is, sorry, I just don't really know what to say. I just kind of heard about it and was like, yeah, okay. So I'm just kind of here.
You've been doing that your first year.
Yeah, it's my first year.
I joined because my sister was on it, and she said it was really fun, and I stayed because of the like volunteer stuff, and it was fun for the community engagement.
Okay, thank you all. Does any other councillors have a question for them? Mr. Mayor?
Well, thank you for coming here tonight. I've had the opportunity to know many of you over the years, and appreciate everything that you've done for our community and the perspectives you brought to youth council and some of the recommendations you brought to town council. I'm not on youth council this year, so I want to hear about what your focus is for this term. We have some new faces, and we have some folks that have been with youth council for a while. So what are you hoping to accomplish this term on youth council?
Whoever was the shortest talker can go first.
All right, well, I guess I have my notes here so I can get a slightly better way of saying it. Anyway, our focus this year, as we decided at our last meeting last week, would be to pursue homelessness, and with an emphasis on educating youth. We have a handful of projects that we're hoping to look into and maybe pursue, but I think that'll be the basis of what we're going to do this year.
Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have any more youth councillors? If not, does any other councillors have a question for them? Okay, well, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming out. We always do appreciate, I haven't seen so many councillors in a room at once, but we enjoy having youth councillors here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Okay, the next one, executive offices. Okay, so there's no reports from staff, executive offices, so, corporate services, up would be presentation of Paul Hanlon, General Manager of Corporate Services, briefing update on investment policy. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the members of the committee. This is a proposed update to Town of Edson Investment Policy F-I-1, originally adopted with a corresponding procedure in October of 2001. It is a policy and procedure that we believe is no longer adequately reflects the philosophy and the direction of investment we wish to pursue here at the Town of Edson, where we're a little more self-directing and managing of this, of the investments, both short and longer-term investments up to a period of 5 years. We're bringing a policy that seems to be rather consistent across the province when we take a look at it. So as I indicate in the RFD, this is based on 2019 to 2021 examples from several Alberta municipalities, 8 of them. The intent primarily being to ensure the security of the town's short and long-term investments, liquidity, so the ability for us when necessary to access and utilize these funds. As council may recall from our budget discussions, the committee recall from our budget discussions, the investments are often backstopping our reserves and or our deferred grants and revenues, and they fund many of the capital investments undertaken by the municipality. Liquidity, as I said, and growth. We're looking to try and be a little more proactive in how we invest and move these investments to ensure the greatest return back to the town of Edson. You do have the proposed policy was circulated, and administration is available for any questions that you may have at this time.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Does any councillors have questions? Councillor Beyer.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Hanlon. My first question, I've got 2 questions. First one is regarding responsibilities, 3.14, that you would be regularly reporting to council on all investment activities undertaken by the town. I was just kind of wondering how you defined regularly in that.
Sir, through you to Member Beyer, to the committee, we would be looking to be bringing this back depending on the number of times we go to market and seek to invest funds on behalf of the town of Edson, that we would be coming back 2 to 3 times a year, depending on the number of times we seek to invest funds.
Follow up, go ahead. Unless someone else, no?
Yeah, one more question.
Okay, go ahead, do a follow up.
Through the chair to Mr. Hanlon. And on number 3.7 risk, it says at any given time, the total investments at any one financial institution cannot accumulate to over 60% of the reserve balance stated in the prior year's audited financial statements. I was just wondering why we would want to put that type of a threshold on, especially if one financial institution is a lot more competitive than the rest, if that were to be the case.
Thank you, Member Beyer. Through you to the members of the committee. My initial response would be it's typical with what we saw in the other municipalities in the province for their policies. However, speaking a little further to that, some of it is risk and exposure. So you may, and if you take a look on page 7 of 7 in your document, you'll actually see that ATB and the Service Credit Union, they're actually the only investment vehicles that are 100% backed by the province of Alberta. And so the corollary here is if we have more than 60% with any of these other bricks and mortar banks here in Edson, we aren't fully protected under the protections there, for deposit share insurance, And so I believe that we want to ensure we're broadly invested and that we're secure.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Hanlon. So what's the bond market like these days overall?
Sir, through you to Mr. Moore and to all of council, it is not good. As council may recall from the budget discussion earlier this year, the town was holding bonds. Bonds are purchased with a return, a guaranteed return at a future date. And so you take into account projected earnings, interest rates, and of course, I think the interest rates have been a little unprecedented in the last year and a half and not expected to have climbed the ways in which they had. So the bond rates have not provided great returns. Those bonds that I had mentioned to council during our budget discussions were maturing in the 2025 range with guaranteed returns of 1.4 to 2.5%.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the chair to Mr. Hanlon. Thank you for the presentation, the update to the policy. I like what I see in here, the bringing in the local banks, the 60%, which you talked about. My question is more on, I guess, process. Says here the CAO is responsible for administrative compliance and monitor the policy, and writing the CAO may delegate to the CFO, which we currently are building towards. So when the CFO wishes to manage the funds or go to wherever banking institutions to manage the funds, do they need sort of like proof from minutes that we've moved funds, or like from a council level? Or are they having the freedom through administratively to move things sort of in and out? Like how's just, I guess that's the question, just a process of that.
Thank you, Member Taylor. Through you to all of council. The point or the purpose of the policy is allowing administration to undertake these investments per the policy, and hence the regular reporting back to council on the success of those investments. We are basing this, and we anticipate going to market based on a model that's utilized in another city here in Alberta. They're helping us through our first intake. And so again, working with local town of Edson financial institutions, we'd be going out in, currently we believe in a shorter term market, so 60 to 90 days, seeking what sort of return on a identified amount of money they would give us, return back to the town of Edson, and we would then, the money moves into their bank. They provide at the end of that the return. That, of course, would be regularly reported back to council, and we would be looking to do 2 to 4 intakes. Seems to be the model that we're preferring at this time, and seems to be working most successfully with some of these other communities we're talking with.
All right, thank you. I understand the process now. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Persicny.
Yeah, through the chair to Mr. Hanlon. Now, since my understanding is you have a few opportunities to talk to some banks, do you have any early numbers of what we may gain as a municipality in interest? And maybe, I know we were briefed on it briefly, but maybe explain why there's a difference and why the policy is needed.
Thank you, Member Persicny. Through you to all of council. Well, I'll say the policy is necessary in order to allow administration to undertake ultimately what council would have us do when it comes to the investments. It's interesting right now. I talked earlier about the interest environment. So the town's regular bank account, we have a public trust account and a regular bank account, the both accounts, but depending where the balances are at, are returning to the town 5 to 5.3% annually, which is currently better than the GICs we're invested in. So most recently, again, in speaking with one of the other cities that's gone to market, they are seeing in the 60 to 90 day market, they are seeing returns of 4.7%. So initially, it may be tempting to say, well, why would we not just continue to keep it in the bank gaining interest? Well, we know that the interest rates for savings accounts are not going to continue where they are. We are already seeing the bond market and the GIC market starting to tail off in the two-year range, which means the market is adjusting and anticipating a reduction in interest rates. And so those will be quickly seen in the accounts that we hold. And so we want the ability to go, the money, when I'm talking 60 to 90 days, possibly a greater period of time with the local banks, is utilized by these banks to fund mortgages, to fund loans, consumer loans. So they're buying our money for a period of time at which they lend it at higher rates.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Chouinard. Through to Mr. Hanlon, just further to Councillor Byers' inquiry under 3.1B sub 4. regularly report to council on all investment activities undertaken by the town. I'm just wondering if it would make more sense when this policy comes back to council for approval to tie that to the regular quarterly financial reporting to the municipality. That way it's clear on when those reports come. You know, I've been involved in, you know, municipal politics for a long time. Faces change around the table, and sometimes when you don't have a clear, defined timeline or process, and it's a little bit more open-ended, regularly report may mean something different to you than it does to I. That maybe that would be appropriate to do that, or if that is too often, at least you know, twice a year or once a year. Just a suggestion before this comes back to council for final approval.
You want to do a follow-up? You're good.
Administration will take that under consideration. I can share that some of the communities that I mentioned, they did have quarterly at this a point in the policy.
Okay, thank you. Does any other councillors have any questions or concerns about this? Okay, then thank you, Paul, for your report, and we will move on to, I believe our next one would be questions from media. Steve, do we have anyone online? Okay, youth councillors, we'll give you an opportunity. Do you have any questions for us pertaining to what we discussed? No? Okay, then I guess then we're going to move on. My agenda said we do. Oh, sorry. Members of the public, you were shadowed by youth councillors. Do you have any questions for us? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I'm following this through, according to my iPad, we do have an in-camera session. Okay, so I am looking for a motion to go in camera. Councillor Byer.
I so move to a closed meeting.
It doesn't have the motion on the agenda.
No, it doesn't. So, okay, the motion said it would be lease negotiation for 24.
I can read it.
Sorry, if I may just interrupt for one moment. I've got it shared on the screen behind you there.
Okay. I move that council move into a closed session pursuant to Section 24 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you, Councillor Byers. All those in favor? Okay, thanks. Okay, it's that time of night. We're looking for a motion for adjournment. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
I move adjournment of the committee of the whole meeting.
All those in favor? Those opposed? Thanks. Carried. Thank you.